I'm going to be talking about all of his albums from 1972 to about 1978. Ended with Just Another Band from LA, so I'm going to go into the next album here. The next album would be Waka Jawaka. This was one of the three albums, the first being Just Another Band from LA, and then that one, this one, and the one after this one. Those were all albums that Frank worked on while he was in a wheelchair. He had been pushed in an orchestra pit. However, this album and the one after it are both jazz fusion albums. Uh, so they're very interesting. And Waka Jawaka, 4 tracks, good album, good. You cannot tell this is the '95 Ryko disc. I know there's a lot of reverb that people hate. I can tell, I can hear the reverb too, but it really doesn't bug me that much. I may or may not repurchase it. I don't know. And there's only 4 songs. Big Swifties, good fun. Your Mouth. I mean, they're all good songs. I mean, it's just 4 songs, but Big Swifty is probably my favorite on here, and the title track. So it's a good album. Okay, the next one is, I always thought was credited to him as a solo artist, but the mother's name is also on it too. And that is the Grand Wazoo, the second of Frank's jazz fusion oriented albums. I really like this album, really do. And from what I know, the first and second track are realigned, and that's what I thought for years was the tracking order, but no. For Calvin is the first track, and then the second track is the Grand Wazoo. So I fixed that in iTunes again. But yeah, I really like this album. It's just a very Zappa sounding album. I really, really adore this album. One of my favorites by him for sure. The title track is great. Eat That Question is great too, and Blessed Relief. Blessed Relief. Either would work. Yeah, really great. I really like Grand Wazoo. One of my favorites. Okay, then Frank got together a new version of the Mothers. Some consider it one of the best bands he ever had put together, period. And the first of those albums was an album called Overnight Sensation. Camarillo Barillo is hilarious, especially the ending where he asks about the Mexican poncho and the Sears poncho. I'm the Slime, it's great. Dirty Love is good fun. And Montana, my favorite song of the album. Montana's hilarious. This is a good album. So, Overnight Sensation. It's followed by an album that's credited as a Frank Zappa album. No Mothers, although the Mothers are playing on it. That same lineup on Overnight Sensation. And it's probably Frank's most popular album, and his most commercially successful, I think. Apostrophe. This is the 2012 reissue. Every song on here is great. Don't Eat the Else Now. Anouk Rubs It In is particularly funny. St. Alphonsus Pancakes, Father Oblivion. Those 4 are all sort of a mini suite, like a sort of mini rock opera, if you will. Cosmic Debris is good fun, where he mentions the Sears poncho, Mexican poncho again, makes a reference to it. Apostrophe is a great instrumental, the title track. But my favorite song got to be Stinkfoot, just because it's so funny. Frank could be a funny guy. So easily his most popular album, most recognizable, especially with that cover, with that iconic stash of his. Next is a really great live album. I think the best live album Frank ever put out, and that is Roxy and Elsewhere. Concerts, some of them recorded at the Roxy and elsewhere. The Roxy in New York, I believe, and then some other places. This was released in 1974. Recorded in '73, I think, and it's the same band from Apostrophe and Overnight Sensation. and they are just in really fine form. None of these songs were on previous albums, except with the exception of More Trouble Every Day, which I think is a different version of Trouble Every Day from Freak Out. It's a really great album. I guess my favorite songs would be Village of the Sun is great. Echidna's Arf? Echidna's. I can't say it. That one. Don't you ever watch that thing? I think those are the good ones there. More Trouble Every Day is good. Or Son of Orange County. Cheapness is funny. And yeah, everything's good on here. And I especially love the banter, the onstage banter from Frank, because he could be a really funny guy. He really could. Okay, next up is the last one that Frank made with the overnight sensation, that version of the Mothers, called One Size Fits All. This is an interesting thing I own. Interesting copy of it I own. This is the 95 Ryko disc, but I read online, I kept doing sound comparisons to this and the 2012 version, and I really could not hear a difference. I'm like, what? So what? It's the same thing. Then I read that for Apostrophe and this one, there were gold disc mixes made of them, and they used the original vinyl mix as the master. Apparently, for both of those albums, more so for this one, later pressings of this album, they just used the packaging of the 1995 disc, but used the audio from the gold disc without it being, painted gold. So I just saved myself 13 bucks. So I got this when I was at camp my 4th year at a FYE. Just picked it up because didn't have it, heard it was great, so I'm really happy to have this. So I've been listening to the original mix this whole time. Some people think this is a better album than Overnight Sensation. Musically, maybe it is. As musicians, they really had progressed. This line with the Mothers. Inca Roads is great, which has the late great George Duke on vocals. Care for No Shoes is good fun. Pajama People, Flora Team Pojin. I think San Bernardino is my favorite track. Just Captain Beefheart on harmonica. Andy's pretty good. Both sofa tracks are pretty cool. Yeah, it's a really great album. Really like this one. Really like this one. And I'm glad I have. I've been listening to the original mix all these years. Next up is a personal favorite of mine, Bongo Fury, Frank Zappa. An album that he released with the Mothers, and believe it or not, he toured with his buddy, his high school buddy, Captain Beefheart. At that time, he had made the 2 worst albums in his career, and he was in a bunch of legal ties, so Frank helped out his old friend by having him tour with him. And boy, did they get on each other's nerves. I think it was more so Don Van Vliet's, Captain Beefheart's real name. From what I seen in that Captain Beefheart documentary, that he would draw pictures, or he would keep a bunch of drawing books, and he had one book for drawing things in, and then he had a bunch of other books of drawing pictures of Frank. Everybody thought they were funny, except Frank, of course. This is a live album with a little bit of overdubbing. This is the 95 Ryko disc. It does have a lot of reverb, so I am going to repurchase this one. And because it's a great album. Great songs on here. Deborah Cadabra. Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy is hilarious. I like the songs that feature Captain Beefheart, because I just love that gruff voice of his, especially with Sam with the Showing Scout flat top. Advanced Romance goes on for a while. It's good. Just a really good album. And Muffin Man. Great song. Great album. I think you could call this one underrated. It's pretty underrated. Well worth checking out. Even if you're not a fan of Captain Beefheart, you gotta. Next is one of Frank's most hard rock-oriented albums, Zoot Now, even listening to this when I first got it, about, geez, it would have been my birthday, 2007, I think I got this for. I mean, I listened to it and I thought, geez, the production on this is really crappy. I mean, it's a good album, good songs, but on here. Yeah, Frank put a lot of reverb on this one. From what I hear, the new one sounds a lot better, and I am going to repurchase this one. So, yeah, but still what I have is good. There's a bunch of great songs. Even though it's a very hard rock oriented album, there's some great funny songs on here. Wind Up Working at a Gas Station, or Wind Up Working in a Gas Station, rather. Such a funny track. I think what Frank was going for was a Bee Gees parody, and it's spot on. Black Napkins, one of my all-time favorites from Frank. Torture Never Stops can become a little bit annoying after a while, with all those moans. And Wonderful Winos, good fun. The title track, Miss Pinky, song about a blow-up doll. Fair enough. And Disco Boy, good song. Yeah, it's a good album. Good hard rock album from Frank. And I think next up is Zappa in New York. This is a live album from 1978. Right here, I think it was just a single disc, just a single out, or I think it was a double album when it was released in '78, but the CD version has expanded it with 5 new songs that weren't on the original one. As an album, it's good. Great performance. I don't know, I remember listening to it just feeling, I don't know, it was like at night and I felt, wow, this is really loud. I don't know if it was because I had turned it up a little bit louder. I don't know about the mix, but musically, it is a really great live album. The humor in it can get a little bit, again, Frank went back to the juvenile humor, except, titties and beer. Some of these titles I am not saying on here in this video, but I'm sure you know which ones I'm talking about. But this is a good live album. I got this a little bit later, so maybe save it for later, but it's good. Let me come to, especially with Zappa in New York, this album and the next one or two, Frank had a hard time making an album called Lather, and it was going to be this huge album. It was going to be a double album. It wasn't going to be a triple album. It was going to be a quadruple album. 4 discs. Warner Brothers were not happy with the idea. So, Frank just, I know I read in the Frank Zappa book, that he just stooped to Warner Brothers' demands. He would just make, 40, 45-minute album and just plop it on the desk of Warner Brothers and just sort of, there you go. And he just waited for his contract with Warner Brothers to expire because he couldn't wait to get out. He couldn't wait to get out of it because they were giving him such a hard time. But one of those 4 albums was Studio Tan. This is a very weird copy I have of it. It is the Ryko disc, but it looks like a bootleg. I don't think it is. I mean, it's got this weird, see how it's darker than the other ones, and it's got a barcode on it, which is weird. As for an album, it's pretty good. I mean, there's not a lot of songs on here. Adventures of Gregory Peccary is probably the best song here. And I really like Let Me Take You to the Beach, even though it's so stupid. I really like it. And, yeah, that's all Frank Zappa. spanned from 1972 to 1978. So I'll have another video that will cover, I don't know how much else. The rest, we'll see. See y'all then. Bye.